Dummy Switch Pod.
Mhm.
Boys are back. The boys are back.
Yes.
A lot of rugby. There would have been more. Some
Yeah.
cancellations. Some COVID protocols been broken. But it's the story of this tour. It looks like we just get on with it.
Yeah. Look, there's no doubting that COVID is a serious thing, but at the same time, it's just frustrating it out. It's messing up with the fixtures. But I think the teams, the guys, they, like you say, they're just getting on with it, and that's what we got to do. They're here, so they must play. Let the boys play.
Yeah, they're here, and even bringing across guys from other
Big
side.
man.
We saw that young fly half making his way now.
Yeah, young Marcus Smith, good player, but don't know about test against the Springboks. But you know what? That's
you can say the
prerogative.
same thing. You could say the same thing about us. We saw
Yeah.
a few guys being called up this week. Fez Mbata, sort
Yeah.
of same boat as Marcus Smith.
Look. I think for a guy like Fez, it's just experience. I don't see him playing. He's there for backup. So you know what? We know what it is. He's not ready yet.
Yeah, I think if we see him starting, that's that stage where they're now pulling guys from the stands to come play because everyone is down.
Yeah, stranger things. Look, I think it's been a strange time, so we must be prepared for strange. So yeah.
We saw Sharks having home games at Loftus and Ellis Park, so I think we're used to strange this week. But let's go to the team that was really at home this week, Western Province, taking on visiting Griqua's side. Them playing test. We spoke about it last week, saying they were playing that test match rugby, and they've been caught out. They've been found out. They've been measured, and they've been put down.
Yeah, they've been accounted for, definitely. And we said it. We said it that. Look, it's either going to go one or two ways for them with the way that they've been playing. It's either going to go up or going to go down, and they went down, against the Griquas, and credit to the Griquas because the Griquas pulled a Western Province on Province.
Yes, I didn't even think about that.
Stealing the game there, and for a team like the Griquas, I think that means way much more to them than it would for Western Province. That does more for a team like the Griquas than Western Province because they would have taken that and just gone on the mirror and thought, okay, we still winning, so it's okay, But now they've been examined and, like you said, measured, and they've been accounted for, and they've been found wanting. They were, and I think it was the right result on the day.
Definitely right result. First half, if we look deeper into that try. First 6 minutes, I think that's. How many games have been watching over the first few? Over these few weeks, and we've seen that in basically all of them. It looks like there's a try within the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Courts are getting over there again. It was a bit of test match rugby, kicking for the corner and playing the maul there. But we saw straight after that, Griquas, Ashlon Davids. For me, he looks like a transformed player. He doesn't even look the same. He looks fitter. He looks faster. He looks sharper. He got the go forward from the back. Sir Gill, I'd never seen Sir Gill play before. He was also making some go forward for them. That nice advantage for them, and they caught Peterson out there at fullback.
Yeah,
the shorter man out jumping him.
Yeah, and I think for Peterson, it was also a timing thing. And when looking at it on replay, it didn't look like his positioning was correct. He was beaten by the actual kick. He was too late to react. And credit to Ashlon Davids, and talking about him and he was playing 15. I felt like you saw the difference that he brought at 15 as opposed to a guy like Banda, something that we mentioned in the previous week.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you see it. The completely different player. He's very good, comfortable ball in hand. He doesn't look rushed. And like you say, he looks fitter, looks stronger, quicker. and a well-taken try, for him to get the Griquas back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Western Province, before we got into it, I didn't mention Masimla was back in for them. You had Sandy was in for them, Kotso was in for them, Xaba, who off an injury, not a great performance from him. He was very quiet and he was taken off shortly after halftime. And Jean de Jong was allegedly back, but I did not see him. I can neither confirm nor deny that he was in the building.
Oh, they say he was supposed to be there, but he wasn't. And I felt you mentioned Xaba and the guys that Province had in. I felt Xaba, yes, one of his quieter games, but the work that he did. I felt you could see his quality in his play, even though he's not operating at his optimal. I think Masimla is kind of, for me, he's just been hot and cold. He hasn't found that sweet spot, and he's been there. He's been there a while, at Western Province, and he's yet to find that sweet spot where he
keeps getting a contract.
Yeah, where he's outright. The best 9 in the system there for them, which you have to look at and think, okay, why are they still holding on to the guy? Maybe he can find greener pastures. I don't know, but we spoke about that environment. It just, for some players, I think they need to move on. Masimla for me falls into one of those categories where it's just. Yeah, he hasn't ticked, he hasn't ticked consistently, and.
But I mean, it's been a revolving door. It's been a revolving door of scrum offs in Cape Town for how long. Someone gets good enough to reach that level, and then they're on their way. Yeah,
but look, at the same time, in the same breath, they do have youngsters that are there that are coming through. You mentioned Sandy as well, so. They do have the youngsters, and you're just hoping that they may find their way. Well, we don't know what the future holds in terms of management, but at the moment, I don't think that relationship is working out. Because because they just they got caught out. I mean, in patches they look good. You thought, okay, look, it's going to be one of those evenings where Griquas are going to push them, and at the end, Province will still take it. But no, the fight in the Griquas, they smell blood. They put the pressure on as well. I think they might have just won that territory battle, in being in the right places in the field against Province.
And they were more sharper, more clinical as well. I mean, you think back to that, Masimla, we're just talking about him. For Kasende's try, it was Masimla that slipped and fell down. Van der Merwe as well couldn't cover inside. He slipped and fell down. They're just not as sharp. They're just not as clinical. They're just not switched on at times. And I mean, Sandy, he going off and Mazibuko coming on was also, it crumbled a bit because Mazibuko, yellow card. And then when he did come back on, he just couldn't hold up his end on his scrum. He had a tough day at the office.
He did, and I think at that time the momentum, even though maybe the score wasn't reflective, but the momentum of the game was already shifted towards Griquas, and it was just uphill. Those guys just look like they're running up freaking sand dunes. Western Province, they left. I just feel like they're a team. You can't even really say they're a team in transition. They're a team that doesn't know where first gear is. It's almost like, they don't even understand how to change the gears. It's just magically maybe they'll find themselves in third, and they'll be able to sneak a win. And this time around, they didn't have that luck. And credit to the Griquas.
You had said they had their moments of brilliance. Swiel just got his kick through there for Peterson. Evan Ruiz also, he had a big carry, almost made it over.
Yeah.
And when I saw that thing with Evan Ruiz, I immediately just thought, what would they do? Like, you watch Western Province, and over past few matches, Evan Ruiz is sort of like you take him as a given that, okay, this guy is going to make the line breaks. He's going to make the hard carries. He's going to do all that work. But if he wasn't there, if he wasn't there, what would be happening to this team?
Yeah, he's the man of the house. You know, like you can see, he's the man of the house in that team. So you take him away, they look
the breadwinner.
Yeah. Take him away, you'll find them looting. I'm just saying, but you know what? Take the breadwinner away. You know, the kids are hungry. You know, so that's what's going to happen. You know, and you'd imagine that Western Province should be thinking long term and try to hold on to that guy, because he does seem like he's a guy that they can build a team around. You know, if they were to really have a relook at their structures, there's some good players that are coming through from the 20s and the junior box. Guys need to get a chance, and I think, you know what, they need to make a decision. You know, especially if the results, and particularly the way that the results are coming, you know, are not up there. They need to just relook at the formula altogether. You know, down to personnel.
Yeah, and coaching as well. You know that they've got a poor man's Jake White there at the moment.
Jake Light. Yes, Jake Light.
On the Griquas side, they matched them. They said, okay, you're going to play test match rugby. We're going to play test match rugby. We're going to match you for penalties. And at the end, it looked like they didn't want to win it. They got over. It was a forward pass. They got over for a maul. It was held up. Then finally, the tap and go, the seemingly most unlikely of those options, they made it over. Finally, they made it over, and it was a good win for them.
Yeah, look, it was, you know, again, look, there's fight all around. That's one thing you can't take away from
everyone did their job.
Yeah, you can't take that away from I think from both teams as well. You know, as much as we're not impressed by Western Province, the one thing that they do have going for them is that they do know how to put up a fight, and defensively they did do that. Outside of that quick tap that got them away, and if you look at the Griquas try, outside of the kick, you know, Masimla's slip, it is individual errors that also kept the Griquas alive. And the Griquas, again, you have to credit them for staying in the fight and recognizing that there was something for the taking there, and them ultimately taking that. You know, so everyone there, that was a job from everyone contributed to it, particularly more, I think, from the Griquas, because they, at the end of the day, I think they wanted it more. And it's been a long time coming for them. You know, I think the confidence, you just saw the relief on the coach's face as well, that, you know, they needed that W.
And it's a happy trip back to Kimberley. I'm sure when you've experienced a few sad ones, it's not ideal.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on. Cheetahs hosting Pumas. I'll let you take this one away. Your thoughts?
This game, geez, it lacked so much flow. You know, there's stop-start affair. You know, in the beginning there was a lot of mistakes. You know, but you know, there were positive errors, particularly from both sides. You know, because the mistakes that were happening on attack. They were trying to move the ball. For the Cheetahs, I think the timing was not there. And the Pumas looked like they were playing a little bit within themselves slightly, because their skill execution levels dropped from, you know, the previous weeks and where they were. And one of the things for me that stood out, just discipline. Again, it was just, you know, from a penalties perspective on both sides, discipline it was not there. But then you have guys that, you know, they do catch your attention. I like the look of the Cheetahs, number 12, Masuku, who's got good hands.
Yeah, you know, I like fly half by trade when he was at the Lions. He was very impressive to me when he was at the Lions, and I wondered why they never kept him on.
And for me, even in that Cheetahs backline, you could see it just looked like if anything positive was going to happen, it was around him, even though he also made some mistakes, you know, but I like the look of him. He's one to keep an eye on, I think, you know. And then Jandre Rudolph, I think this game he showed why he's rated in the country. Yes, he does make certain mistakes, more than the other flankers, but he's living on the edge. That's yeah, he does have a goal, so yeah, but the things that stood out for me, the result didn't go the Pumas' way, but the pack, they were competing at every set piece, from a lineup perspective. They put the Cheetahs under pressure. And even from scrum time, one thing I like to sort of look at teams and measure them by their pack and how their pack sort of stays in the fight. And the Pumas guys, they were in it. They were competing. They were there. They wanted to win. It's just, I think, unfortunate for them that they weren't accurate enough. I think that's what killed the Pumas, is the lack of accuracy. Whenever they sort of almost made those off breaks, they didn't have that finishing or that killer blow, which they've had in recent weeks. So I think for them,
I think that might be down to changes. There's been 1-2, which I think is something that may affect them more than other teams, because they're so set in their starting 15 week in, week out.
Yeah.
So you take 1 or 2 of those guys away, bigger problem than if it's a Bulls team and you take 2 guys away.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely that's spot on, and you could tell, because I think they gave the Cheetahs defense an opportunity to grow in that game, and the Cheetahs defense, I think that's what kept them in the game, because ball in hand, the Pumas looked deadly. They looked deadly, and they were just unlucky that they couldn't execute. But again, from the Puma side, Engelbrecht, for me, he stood out, Mafura as well. But just that overall team package that they have, because even I think Mafura, the reason why I mentioned him is that chase down that he had, after that break. He chased the guy, made a solid tackle, put him out in touch. That could have easily really swung a lot of momentum towards the Cheetahs, but he kept his team in the game. So, yeah, man, I think all in all, just like I said, too much stop-start, wasn't good flow. Pumas slightly unlucky, but they suffered because of their own mistakes, which I think they will learn from. I think they're at that place now where they can bounce back, much easier than let's say earlier in the year or close to the end of 2020. I think they're better and a healthier team overall, But yeah, that game not as entertaining as you would have thought, being the type of rugby that both these sides are capable of playing.
Yeah, let's move on to maybe some games where we saw too many tries, too much entertainment.
Jeez. Depends which side of the fence you're sitting on when you're talking about entertainment, so I wouldn't just say that,
Yeah, let's talk about game 1 and 2, Sharks having second bite at it.
Hey, man.
We don't know if that was a good or a bad thing, but I'd say the Sigma Lions, definitely first game, they did way better than the Sharks did, and we were coming off some comments of hopefully the Sharks will put up more of a fight. They couldn't stop that go forward ball. It's the same thing that the Lions suffered from. They just couldn't stop the go forward ball. Talking points, Cock in both games, he was someone that was talked about in the first game as having a good game and potentially having the desire to play 13 and then given a go at 13 in the second one. Unlucky for him with the yellow card. I think it was a bit harsh. Refereeing in this one, similar to the Sigma Lions game, I think was a bit questionable.
Yeah, look, if we're talking game 1 of the Sharks, that game was just a complete mess for them. Sloppy, number one. They sat back. They let the Lions run at them instead of them going towards them. The Lions, we won't even talk too much about the Lions because they're internationals. They all capitalized, and I think there was a wake up call for the Sharks. Around if this is the level that you want to play, you can't. You have to be better than what you are. And one person I think that learned that that learned that very well, who I'd hope that he learned, is somebody like Currie Bosch. I think if this experience doesn't really sober him and make him realize that he's got to do more, be more, in order to crack it at test level, to be honest, then I don't know what will, because in that first game, I think we saw, give the Lions quick ball breakdowns. If they secure their ball, you're in trouble, because then they're getting behind you. They have the players, the strike runners to punish you and cut you apart, and that's what happened. Game one was just, men against boys. That was really men against boys, and you would have thought that they would have learned from the Sigma Lions game, and picked up a few things there which they didn't, which was rather disappointing, but I feel there was some redemption if you look at game two for them. They think with game two was a better representation of the potential of the Shark squad, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the second game, it was almost, there was a different personality to the team. There was a different vibe to the team, which I think is a function of changing the backline a bit, getting Lionel Cronje in there. But back to the first game, Abrams, Taki Abrams is always going to make you meters. Defense a bit shaky though. They had their chances in the first half. The one ball bouncing off Pepsi's chest when he was, he was behind the defense. That could have been a try. Umtunu and Vunipola were having their own game. Those two, I think the first half was 2-1 in the scrums. Vunipola losing. That was good to see. Talking second half, James Venter, I think that's the first time that we saw Sharks' real potential, running at weak shoulders, good decision making. That's where Cork also showed, he was in sort of that 13 channel and he showed what he's got to give there. I'll admit, I have not been a fan of his in the 15-man game. I haven't at wing and at 13, but I think after these two games, he started to win me over.
Yeah, look, certainly Venokoka, I rate him. I think we all know what he's done at sevens, and I just think he's been a bit slower to adapt and adjust to the 15-man game. I think finding where he needs to be, the technical side of things, and I think this experience against the Lions, I think it'll put him in good stead, for him to sort of to really show that potential. In the 15-man game, because look, he was everywhere. He was everywhere. Yet good strong tackling. He didn't die as a ball carrier. And this is game one that we're talking about. And definitely the Sharks did have their opportunities in that first game. Again, it was, I think, lack of patience. There's no accuracy in what they were trying to do. They were, if I may put it this way, we don't know what the mindset is, but they just looked afraid, more afraid of the Lions, of the occasion got to them in terms of, okay, we're playing against internationals.
Happy to be involved.
Yeah, it was just making up numbers and being passengers. Although there was glimpses from a few guys, I felt as well. You mentioned James Venter. I think also Pepsi as well. He didn't disappoint himself. I don't think individuals as a whole, from an individuals, yes, maybe one or two guys, some micro skills, they don't score high on the chart, in the game review, but individually, I don't think the guys, when they were challenged to make a tackle, to carry the ball, I don't think they did badly. It is just, as a team, the team energy wasn't in one direction, and that's why they were easily cut apart. For me, the scrums as well, there was, like you say, it was 2-1 to Nkunu at halftime, and I actually felt he actually did have the upper hand. And referees, you never know what they see and how they view the scrum, but I certainly feel like there's a lot of more infringing coming from the Lions, in terms of the angles that they hit in, and they push in, or even them dropping or collapsing the scrum first, and it goes missed by the referees. So I don't know, what they're looking at. But like I said, that first game was just diabolical from a team perspective for those Sharks guys.
Yeah, second chance at it at Loftus. I think it was just even just arriving at the occasion, when I turned the TV on and watching it, it's just like it felt different. It felt different. Like there was the energy. I don't know if it's a change of venue. I'm not a particularly big fan of Loftus, but there was a change of energy. Lionel Currie, him, yep.
Yeah, I agree with you. The change of energy, and I think it may not necessarily be Loftus. I think it's that thing, like as you said, it's the second bite. They already had the first go at it, so they knew what was coming. And they understood the level that they needed to be at, and you have to take your hat off to them for individually and as a team for being able to really step that side up. And I think that goes more mentally than physically, than the ability. That was just a mindset shift from everybody in there. And again, you mentioned Lionel Currie. I think he was a big part of the way that I'm going to say the comfort, or not the ease at which the sort of team would be able to play. Especially ball in hand. They're not panicky. They're not scared. He's not a little boy anymore. He's been around the world, as opposed to
he was a man at 18. He was a man at 18. He's always been the man. He's always been the man. So I mean, he's got that confidence and that swagger. When he steps in the room, it's not the same as Bosch stepping in the room. Like, it's a whole different thing.
We're not bagging a Bosch or anything like that. It's just the fact that there's the difference. That guy is, ever since he came on the scene, he's always had that X factor, but not just X factor. He's had the ability to bring that calmness and direction, from 10. Even though, yes, he's had his not so good performances over the years, and even in this game, because he missed kicks that, otherwise would have been converted by the other chaps, but what he brought overall was way more than what the boot brings. Way more, that shows there's more value in an overall fly-off than a fly-off that's got just a boot. And
I think we as SA Rugby, we've got a bigger problem at fly-off than we think.
Yeah.
We're watching this rugby, watching our local sides play week in, week out. But I think if we really have a look at it, and we've seen Morné Steyn being called up, it just shows that we're putting out in other areas, but in that 10 channel, I think we're lacking a bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done there. Although the potential of the youngsters that are, for example, the junior box squad, there's guys that you'd like to think and you'd hope that they can sort of make that step up, and push on and show what they're about, almost similarly to Kate Voliter, who I think he just looks like he can be the next Springboks fluff and leapfrog the guys that are in the pipeline because of just the comfort. I think even guys like Currie and Bosch, I don't see Kate Voliter struggling so much to leapfrog him, to get into a potential box setup down the line. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of work that needs to be done at 10, because the cupboards are bare. We can't say we've been looted, but you know what, the cupboards are bare at 10.
Yeah, if we look early on, it's the same thing. Try first 10 minutes, you think it's going to be more of the same. But where I also think the Sharks set it up in this one was a lot of their pressure and a lot of their tries was coming from counter-attack. We saw that fumble immediately onto it, and Forming put his pace on it at the end, something that I like Limbok, but having that pace from 15 like that, I think we saw how much of a difference it makes, especially when you're using the counter attack like the Sharks use.
Yeah, the pace and the power, I think you spot on. They punished the mistakes that the Lions made, and it just showed the difference in the mindset when the defense was that was really offensive defense, because you could see the Sharks were just trying to get up out of the line, shut down their space as quickly as possible, and force them into making mistakes, and they did. And that's how they managed to stay in the game or really keep themselves in that fight. And at the same time, if you look at the way that the Lions scored a bulk of their tries, especially in the first half when it was still 15 against 15, a lot of it was just errors from the Sharks as well. I think both defensive systems had stood up. It was just individual errors, guys out of positions. We've got big guys not where they're supposed to be, and that getting, punished easily. But another thing for me, that stood up for me was that loose trio of the Sharks that they put out: Dylan Richardson, Gumete, and Pepsi.
We saw it for the next try with Takir Abrams, where it was Pepsi had a big hit up, Richardson had a big hit up. They bring it back this way, and Cronje puts it in. It just shows also the change in attitude, the way that those guys carried, which I think Richardson, he stirs the pot, he gets involved. I think he's also a big attitude guy.
I really like Richardson. Just especially like this game. At first, you think he's a good player, but you just like, okay, what more does he have in the cupboard? And I think
especially compared to Fenter, because I rated Fenter more highly than him, but after what we've seen in these two games, it's sort of leaning more to one side than the other.
And for me, I think Richardson, after this performance, it's very hard to not see him being, the Sharks number 6, because he's absolutely nailed it down. Gumete as well, I think he stepped up, the youngster, Pepsi as well. So it becomes a thing now. The question where I would have is, if you're the Sharks management, what's your decision making like? I'd want to give these guys as much experience and exposure as possible, knowing that you've got the experience of, Tembelani Boli, he's a well-versed and traveled player, has played in top teams, and guy like Henko Fenter as well that you've got on the bench. So, you'd want to give that loose trio more time together to grow, develop, understand each other's game as a unit, to take you forward, because I think they can do that and still get results, because these guys, for me, they're the real deal. They're absolutely the real deal. And the way that the Sharks pack stepped up as well, in making sure that their ball was secure. Because I think in that first game, that's one thing that they struggled with. They were sending in 3-4 guys into a breakdown, whereas the Lions were getting 2 in. Albeit,
it looks like in the 3 games we've watched the Lions play, it looks like they just have more players on the field because of that spreading out. Yeah,
but as well, one of the things that I noticed that the Sharks were able to do and do well was making sure that nuisance player, the tackler, as I mentioned last week after the Sigma Lions game, he was saying, just looks like the way the Lions play, the tackler, he takes that extra 1-2 seconds to get out, or he'll look like he's getting out, but he's not, you're giving his jackler a chance. And the Sharks, I feel like they dealt well with that in getting rid of that first guy, and securing the ball, especially in this game. I think, their breakdowns were much better, much better, and they were able to recycle that ball much better than that first game, because the first game the recycling was just so slow. They had no tempo, and in this game you have to credit the pack Jaden Hendricks, I felt he did well. He controlled that game very nicely.
In both games, it's that thing of he makes rugby look effortless. He makes it look easy. His decision making, the continuity that he has, the way he dishes the ball, even the interception that he made there, he makes it. It looks easy.
It looks easy for him. It was just disappointing that he had a freaking brain explosion. That's unnecessary because he took away an opportunity. That's one thing that he must be called out for, is that he took away an opportunity, and for what? I would have handled it if he really hit that guy hard, and broke his cheekbone. Not that
but this is where I can defend him. You can get away with that at high school rugby, and I think this is where inexperience shows, in that sometimes you think that he's still playing it like it's high school rugby, or he's still playing it like it's like there aren't a million people watching. And you'd be able to get away with that easy, and it's just a cheeky thing. But like you said, he didn't go to break his. It was just a cheeky elbow. I think it was a bit harsh. I think it was a bit harsh.
I agree with you. I also thought, look, it is a bit harsh. And if you look at it, it's physical combat. Those things are going to happen. So it's inexperience. Yes, the red card harsh. I think so too. I really think so too, that it's harsh. Yellow card at most, but it still doesn't change the fact that he did take away an opportunity. Because the Lions, they showed. I think the Lions, their biggest danger comes from their backs. Their biggest danger comes from their backs. If you give those guys good set piece ball, at scrum and line up time, they can punish you. They can punish you with ball in hand, and they can keep the ball. But then also defensively, they can also put pressure on you. But I think we've seen, and I know that the Springbok coaches would have definitely seen a lot of opportunities in terms of how to really dismantle them, because
the Sharks exposed the weakness. They exposed how vulnerable they are to the counterattack, and they did it with guys that aren't internationals. So there is the potential for. Look at the way Hendricks was looking for that intercept. Faf de Klerk's going to be doing the same thing. Look at the way Takir Abrams and Cheslin Colby, similar mold of player. You drop the ball, the exact same thing is going to happen.
You're in trouble. No, absolutely. So look, I'm happy with the better performance by the Sharks in this game. Like I said, the opportunity lost, but you know what? We move on. But looking at the bigger picture for the Springboks, I really think the Lions are there for the taking if our guys are focused on the basics and we play our game. And I think we've got the defensive structure to put them under pressure, because they won't try to attack all the way. I know they'll probably do. They will try to put pressure on our set piece. Maul us, try and scrum us, and I think we'll be prepared, because I know if you're reading the reports, I saw a post today by a particular rugby publication, and they were talking about how the Springboks are there for the taking, that it should be easy meat for the Lions. That's what they say, that's what they're saying. So
look, for me, yes, they haven't played. That's the weakness. They just might not be match fit. The only other thing I wanted to ask you is your takeaways from what we've seen so far, because if we're being honest, that Springbok A team is our real A team. That's it's basically our test side. But we'll get to that. So what I wanted to ask you is, what are your takeaways from what you've seen in the 3 games? For me, we've seen Dwayne van der Merwe have his stint as a bit of a danger man in these 2 games, but we have seen him make mistakes. I don't know if they're going to go with him being on form. the other thing was Lions go forward ball. You've seen it in all 3 games, how it's been able to kill off the Lions and the Sharks. And the third thing is the reffing.
Yeah.
So those are my main takeaways. Have you got any sort of points that you've sort of identified from these games?
Look, points are similar to yours. I think the areas that I've been looking at or that I've taken away is just what they do at the breakdown. I think that's key to their go forward ball. It's speaking to on that is that just the way that they're able to secure the ball very quickly. I think we just need to find a way to negate that, and that's where the selection, I think, is going to be important. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised looking at the reports, with Sia having been with COVID and all of that, and he's not looking likely to start the first test. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Marco van Staden going there. And I think this test series, almost similar to 2009, it's going to be about how we can slow their ball down, number one. And then number two is we got to match the firepower that they're going to bring. I think they're going to employ a similar game plan to us, and similarly to Wales, because it's the same coach where they're forward orientated. They're going to, set piece. They're going to come at us at line-out time. So that's one of the areas that I've circled as something to take away from the 3 games that they played so far. But also one of the big ones for me is the danger of their backs. They've got real pacey guys out there. If you look at even from a guy like Elliot Daly as an example, then there's that Liam Williams. There's also even Anthony Watson, who's particularly dangerous, with counter attack. So that's the other part that I've picked up. But Duan van der Merwe, talking about him as the danger guy. Look, I think, yes, he's been the form man. I think he most likely will make the 23 because, yes, he's had it all his way. Ever since they've been on the Lions tour started and they played their warm-up game against Japan and all of that, he's had it. He's had an easy time, and he hasn't really played the Springboks yet. That's my thing. He hasn't played the Springboks yet, so I don't think he'll be the starter. I don't see that. I really don't, and particularly because he's just a winger. Where he's just a winger, doesn't bring anything else. Then if you look at it on skill level, Reece Emmett, is a youngster, but he's got a bit more. Josh Adams as well. Then Anthony Watson. I
think he brings size. He brings size.
Yeah, but I think outside of that, in the wing position, his size, I don't think his size is a factor because we've got our wingers. We know that our wingers, whoever's going to be tossed to the job, they'll handle the man-on-man defense. He's not a devastating ball carrier, and I think we saw that even in the Sharks games, like if you just tackle the guy, he's going to go down, but he does have a good step. I won't lie. He's got a step for a big man. But yeah, those are just the takeaways for me. But I still think is that we can counter that, or especially that go forward ball. I think we can counter that. We just need to be concerned about their sort of, how can I say, their ball protection abilities, because they know how to keep the ball and keep it for long, and coming from the Northern Hemisphere. So that's one of the things. And also territory, territory. I've noticed in especially even in the Sharks games, one of the big things which I thought just kept the Sharks in the game was the territory. They didn't really have so much possession, but they had the territory, and for me that showed if you have territory and with the possession that you do get, and you make good use of it, you can really put them under pressure. Then show up your defense, and it won't be easy, but Springbok should get the results. I think so.
We'll see. We'll see how easy it is. I think one thing that now we're moving on to the box. I think one thing that we're definitely going to see is how vital Dwayne Vermeulen has been to this team.
Yeah.
Without him there, I think that's what we're going to see, especially in this game. You speak about Kolisi maybe not being there for the first game, but if him and Van Staden, I think we're going to see if they can, sort of patch that hole of Dwayne Vermeulen not being in there. If we talk about this lineup, it's basically our test team. The only surprises that you'd have if it was announced as a test team is Dweba, Visa, Mornay Steyn, and Nkosi possibly. But Nkosi, even take it or leave it, you wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah, look, 100%. If you look at that, look at the midfield. That's your test midfield. We know that, and for me, you can understand why they're there, because they need to get that time under the belt in the midfield to sort out their communication on defense. You have to give Colby a shot because he just needs to shake off, the cobwebs of not having played since Toulouse.
Yeah, that's the function. That's the function of this basically being our test team, is that they lost that test match against Georgia. So, what better time than now? They've just got to throw them in that this would be the test match.
Yeah, and I think the Dweba selection for me, I think that just speaks to the fact that if let's say because of COVID, like it is now, Bongi not in there, definitely Marks is your premier number 2, is the next guy in. And then the next better guy, is definitely not Fez, so it is Dweba. So it's a matter of get him in there now. Let's see him now under pressure now, so that we know going forward into the series, we've got that security, and the same with Marco van Staden. It's really, I think it's that thing with the thought about the Lions breakdown, and it's just say, okay, in this game, Marco, let's see how you can get in there, and disrupt their ball. I think that's going to be his core focus. I don't think it'll be so much about carrying. It's going to be about his job is that breakdown. Jasper Visa, I think he's got to bring that mongrel with the carries. That's what it looks like to me. You know what you get with Peter Steff. Test, he's starting, definitely. Mostert and Erzebeth, I think that's the starting lock pairing. Nyakane and Kitsov, I think definitely those two are the starting props. So, Mornay Steyn, again, I think it's just that thing of, okay, let's see if Simply the Best is still Simply the Best, and then in the event that, Pollard is out or Yankees is out, but at the same time, I would have loved to see in a game like this is Elton Yankees starting, that's my only cry, is to say he's done his time. He's done his bit for the team, man. Like even in 2019 in the World Cup, he was number 1 cheerleader there, with the water. He's been giving himself to the team, and I feel like by now they should trust him enough to give him the keys to the car and say, okay, look, this is South Africa, but this is still a Springbok side. Drive the ship and show us, but alas, it's not to be, and then Spoon Kosi, I was actually thinking about him. Was it yesterday or today? And I was thinking, look, he's a good player, 100%, no doubt,
But I can feel a bat coming.
But for me, and I think I said this before a couple of weeks back as well, is that I just feel there's got to be more that he can bring, and this is the series where, and especially even tomorrow's game, where he needs to show us that something extra, I really believe we need to see that something extra from him as a winger, because it's very difficult
for me as well. I feel like what they're going to do is they're going to have a look at this team sheet, and they're going to look at who's the guy that we can pinpoint, who's the guy that we can target, and they're going to go for him. Similar to what Ireland did to Mvovo, they're going to do it to him.
Yeah, kicking game. I definitely think kicking game, you're going to see it's going to go down smooth channel, because they know they don't want to kick the ball to Chesley. That's one thing that they don't want to do. So that left wing is going to be bombarded with those tactical kicking, because tomorrow night it's not going to be like any of the other games that the Lions have played. Tomorrow night is a test match. It's an unofficial test match, but tomorrow night is definitely a test match, and that's what I think we can expect to see, is a lot of test match rugby kicking, tactical play, and Nkosi needs to be ready. I think Morné Steyn as well, he's going to be put under pressure from a fitness perspective, because I think they're going to try and make them run around, with the ball, and make them run around chasing balls back and getting into position to receive or kick the ball back. So, and that's where now the Dwayne Vermeulen factor, I think, is going to be. We're going to see whether or not Jasper Wiese can fill that void. In terms of
Dwayne Vermeulen as well as an organizer on defense. Is Jasper Wiese going to be able to do the same thing? Someone that hasn't necessarily been in the camp for as long as, look at Mostert. How long has he been in that camp? Peter Steff, how long have they been? Even Quacker Smith, how long has he been in that camp? So it's not just filling in the shoes in terms of ball carries and jumping in the line out. And obviously he's not going to be able to replace him on leadership, but in terms of organization, it's sort of who in that pack is going to step up and do that. And you've got Jasper Wiese there. You've got Marco van Staden, who as well, he has been in and out of the camp. So I don't know if he can fill that role. Peter Steff, I don't see him filling that role. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe Mostert is going to be the one shouting about, telling guys where to stand.
Yeah, that's a very good question there, Quarters, because it's a big position, it's a big role, in the team. And I think, yes, you mentioned Franco Mostert, but I think this is where as well Faf de Klerk comes into play. He becomes more important because he's going to be the barking dog that's telling them, get up, go left, fold right, or cover this space and that space. He becomes even more important, and I think maybe that's why the selection of Morné Steyn would maybe make more sense in the sense that from a kicking perspective, he can handle himself. He should be able to handle himself, to manage the kicking game, while Faf will, play his natural game, but also focus more on organizing the forwards because of Dwayne not being there. That's definitely, I think, on the cards. But it's a head scratcher, because when you look at that team, you see, we talk about Marco van Staden. I just see a guy that's going in there. He's just his sole focus is on his job, and the same with Peter Steff, same with Etzebeth, his job is to enforce and try to stay on the right side of the law, I think, more importantly. So, maybe Steven Kitsoff is one that can be in a good position to do that, being a captain at franchise level, not saying that the other guys are not good leaders, but that communication, especially on defense and organization, it's important. And without that, there has to be guys in the pack that will have to stand up definitely tomorrow. But then Faf is also going to play his role and support them big time.
Yeah, just looking at the bench, that's, I think, where we see some more sort of interesting choices. You've got Marks there, Kuni Oosthuizen, haven't seen for a while. Vincent Koch, haven't seen for a while. Nicholas Janssen van Rensburg, definitely have not seen him for a while. Elstad, I think his stocks have rose similar to Colby, up there to Herschel Jantjies, Jesse Creel, sort of same old. Damian Willemse, hopefully he can continue his streak of form going on. Quagga Smith there, I'm sure he's sort of the safety if things don't go right with Visser. And Elton Jantjies, maybe they just have faith that we actually don't have to give him game time because we know what he can do. So maybe there is, alternative perspective. Maybe maybe there is faith from them. Joseph Dweba, I think I almost don't look at Dweba as a new cap, because when I look at that team, it's like I feel like he's going to do the exact same job as Mbonambi.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I feel like those guys, you know how you're not allowed to wear that blazer. You're not allowed to wear that blazer until you've been. I think after this one, they should let them wear those blazers, because it's going to be a full-on test.
Yeah, it is. And look, I hear what you're saying, the alternative perspective on outside Yankees, but at the same time, for me, it's yeah, okay. Even so, let's say that is the case, you know, that they trust him that much. It's the same. It's double-edged sword. So okay, but if you trust him that much, then surely, you know, let him play. You know, but equally, I think Alton is also a confidence player, you know, and as much as, yes, he is experienced now, he's still, I think, a good outing against the British and Irish Lions, especially starting a game, can do more for him, you know, or than being on the bench, you know, and coming on. We don't know what the results will be, but, you know, you don't want a guy coming on to, okay, now chase the game, you know, or, you know, you'd rather let him start, give him a chance to fail if he's going to fail, give him a chance to fail or succeed, you know, let him decide his own fate. But we'll see. Either way, it's still a good team. And I think Reinhard Alstad, when you mentioned him, I thought, ooh, you know, actually he's a dark horse, because I know we're looking at Jasper Visa and we're thinking, okay, he may be the eighth man. He might actually get a springboarded by or a leapfrog by Reinhard Alstad, because of, I think, his experience and I mean, he's coming off the back of winning a tough top 14. It's tough there.
He's got the winning smell on him.
Yeah, he's got that odor, man. You know, it smells like W's all around. You know, so
like victory and success.
You know, everybody's favorite fragrance, victory and success. You know, so hey.
Hopefully the Boks will come away from this smelling like victory and success. I think the bench will have a big part to play, because you've seen with the Lions where it's just you've got too much quality that late in games they just run away with it. We'll see what happens now. I mean, even the Georgia game, you saw how when the Boks brought on that, there was too many good players. We just had too many good players. So let's see what happens now when too many good players versus too many good players. We'll see what happens there.
We'll see, because best believe, I think the Lions team is closer. We're looking at this team is very close to their test team, very, very close to their team that they'll put out in the series, barring maybe number 12 and maybe on the wing and the fullback, you know, 14 and 15. I think maybe there's, you know, but I think when you look at that whole team, it's test side for the series for sure.
Yeah. Any final comments for today?
Look, nothing more to add except, you know, let's get to the game tomorrow. I can't wait. I actually can't wait.
Can't wait either. Siya Kolisi, get well soon.
Get well soon, please.
Please. We're begging you. And we're out.